Change your diet, change your life, change the planet.
Good morning. I'm in Keene, New Hampshire right now, about to compete in a 5K road race. Yeah. I'm registered for a 16-mile trail race in Connecticut today. But I've been having some foot issues. I injured my foot about a month ago, and I've had to stay off the trails because rocks and roots and sharp turns have aggravated the foot. But if I run just on the roads, I don't have a problem. Normally, I train very little on the roads because it impacts my knees, hips, and back differently, and I like to run on the trails. But because of this foot issue, I've had to move towards the roads. So now this week I'm going to be doing over 100 miles on roads, which I've never done before. But knees, hips, back are fine, so I'm going with it. But I've had to adapt my training to allow the foot to heal. And I've also had to change my race goals. So I'm in a 5K road race today. Not ideal, but I'm going to roll with it. Racing in a 5K is very different than racing in a 16-mile trail race. You're not going to use up your muscle glycogen in a 5K. There is no reason to use an aid station in a 5K unless you're going into the race dehydrated, or you're going into the race with glycogen depletion, meaning that your muscles are not stocked up with glycogen or your liver is not stocked up with glycogen. And if any of those three things are true, you have improper glycogen storage or you're dehydrated, you shouldn't do the race. You got to make sure that you're hydrated the day before the race, minimum. You got to make sure that your sugar stores or glycogen storage is stocked up the day before the race. You can't do it in the race. It's already too late. To make sure that you're stocked up for a race like a 5K, there are a couple things you want to consider. Number one is your level of stress, because stress hormones regulate metabolism, cortisol and adrenaline. I've been under a great deal of stress lately, so much in fact that I didn't sleep a single wink last night, not a minute. I laid in bed, I tried to relax, I did breathing exercises, I tried to calm my thoughts, but I was awake and aware all night long. This is common for me just due to my stress level. Cortisol stops you from relaxing, which is why I'm not sleeping. But cortisol also does many other things. Cortisol takes blood away from your digestive system, and it sends it to the reactive brain, and it also sends it to working skeletal muscle so that you can either fight or flight. Cortisol and adrenaline are fight or flight hormones. So when you're producing cortisol, the body gets the signal, okay, we don't have time to digest. We don't have time to produce insulin, which sends sugar to resting muscle. We are now in a state where we're going to die if we do not fight or run away, flight. So let's send sugar to working muscle or exercising muscle, which is very different than resting muscle. It's a different state. Exercising muscle does not require insulin to receive sugar, so cortisol suppresses insulin production. It takes blood away from the digestive system. Cortisol also stimulates the production of glucagon. Glucagon is essentially the opposite of insulin. The main functions of insulin are to deliver glucose or sugar to resting muscle to be used as energy, also to deliver amino acids to resting muscle for muscle synthesis, and to deliver sugar to fat cells or adipose tissue to be stored as fat. But when cortisol is being produced, the body is getting the signal that we don't have time to store things or synthesize muscle. We need to quickly get as much energy as we possibly can to fight or flight. So when cortisol is in large supply, glucagon becomes the dominant metabolic hormone. Glucagon, rather than storing energy in cells, takes energy from cells. So glucagon will break down your liver glycogen, which is stored energy in the liver, to feed the brain and to quickly give the muscles a supply, which at that point don't need insulin for the energy. Glucagon also starts breaking down your fat, so there's free fatty acids, which can be used as energy for the working muscle. Cortisol also stimulates muscle protein breakdown so that amino acids can be turned into sugar as well, because you want as much sugar as possible as fast as you can get it. So we're going to stop storing sugar in cells. Instead, we're going to start releasing sugar from the liver. We're going to start breaking down fatty tissue, so fatty acids can be used as fuel, and we're going to start breaking down muscle protein. so that the amino acids can be turned into sugar and used as fuel as well. So if you're under a great deal of stress, your body is not storing energy. Your body is breaking down and using energy. So yesterday and last night and this morning, I'm stressed. So if my sugar stores weren't fully stocked up in advance, I've been going through them overnight. And consuming a big meal in the morning is not going to be effective, especially if it's a complex meal, complex carbohydrates, fatty foods, proteins, because they're difficult to digest, and cortisol inhibits digestion or impairs digestion. So the foods that are most effective pre-race because of this impaired digestion are fruits, because you've got glucose and fructose, which are simple sugars, monosaccharides, which means it's just one sugar molecule, it's not complex. And the glucose can go very quickly into the working muscle. Whereas if you take a complex carbohydrate, it needs to be digested and broken down, or a protein needs to be broken down, a fat needs to be broken down. We don't have enough blood to follow through on this digestion because of the cortisol production. So when you're stressed out, fruit is the best thing to eat because you're going to get the sugar. So stress is going to reduce liver sugar stores. Stress is going to cause muscle protein breakdown, and stress is going to inhibit sugar storage. So you want to make sure that you're giving your body a steady supply of sugar in the form of fruit, which can be readily absorbed by the working muscle and the brain without much digestion. And because digestion is impaired, I give myself at least 3 hours to digest that fruit. Even though it's simple to digest, I give it plenty of time because I'm stressed and my stomach is twisty. And when your stomach is twisty, you're just not digesting well. All right, so no complex foods. And the whole complex carbohydrate thing, not enough blood. All right, I'm off to race. See ya.